Richard Painter is an individual who served as the chief ethics lawyer for the George W. Bush administration. Now, just let that sink in for a moment. He served as the ethics lawyer for one of the most unethical administrations in the history of the United States. So now this individual has basically become a member of the resistance. He frequently speaks out against Donald Trump, and a lot of Democrats like what he's saying. And again, even though he came from George Bush's war criminal administration, Democrats like him because he's saying mean things about Donald Trump. Well, now he recently announced that he'd be running for the United States Senate, and he is trying to take over Al Franken's old seat. But he's not running as a Republican. In fact, he's now running as a Democrat. And he's primarily running on an anti-Trump platform, but he claims, at least, that there are policy issues he cares about too.
I'm against what President Trump is doing and what his collaborators are doing. It's not just about President Trump. It's about what's been going on in the Republican Party for decades. You have this religious right that is willing to put our democracy at risk to accomplish their agenda. And that was a problem before President Trump. So there's a lot that I'm against and I'm worried about in this country. But I'm for America. I want to protect our natural resources. I believe we need to extend health care to every single American and health insurance to every single American. We need to regulate the banking sector. Now, I'm not against banks.
Richard Painter is a corporate law professor at the University of Minnesota. He lives in Mendota Heights with his wife and children. He will be seeking the seat that Democratic Senator Tina Smith now holds. Painter says he would like to debate the issues with Senator Smith on the internet, which he says won't cost a lot of money.
Now, one interesting fact about him is that he is claiming to be concerned about the impact money has on politics, so he's choosing to not take corporate PAC money. And he also will be releasing a full platform shortly. But let's just, in spite of all that, let's call a spade a spade. This is nothing more than a political opportunistic individual who is running a campaign based solely on sanctimonious bullshit. I mean, he is the former chief ethics lawyer for the Bush administration. George W. Bush is a murderous war criminal whose policies ruined the Fourth Amendment. He literally carried out torture, which is an actual war crime. He claimed his decision-making was guided by his God. And Richard Painter is claiming that evangelicals, they're just ruining the country to, follow through with their agenda. But for some reason, Richard Painter didn't draw the line at George W. Bush, a murderous war criminal. However, he's choosing now to suddenly draw the line at Donald Trump. That's what made you see just how flawed the Republican Party is, really? Donald Trump? I got bad news for you, Richard, but it wasn't Donald Trump who broke the Republican Party. The Republican Party was already fundamentally broken. They are a tyrannical, extremist, far-right party, and they attracted an individual like Donald Trump, a demagogue. That's what they did. Now, to be fair, Richard Painter didn't actually join the Bush administration until 2005 after he had already invaded Iraq, and he stayed until 2007. But that doesn't really exonerate him because he decided to join Bush's criminal administration after he already knew that Bush had invaded a country that didn't attack us. Invaded two countries that didn't attack us, to be clear. So, I don't know how the Democratic Party establishment is going to respond to an individual like Richard Painter, who served as the ethics lawyer for Bush's administration. That's an oxymoron right there. That's like going to your local butcher for issues regarding veganism. That's like asking Donald Trump for advice on how to be more humble. I mean, it's inherently contradictory. Bush's administration, they were one of the most morally bankrupt administrations that our country has ever seen. And yet now you're trying to claim that Donald Trump was really what made you, just leave the Republican Party once and for all. Give me a break. Again, this is a political opportunist who is virtue signaling because He has his own self-interested agenda. He wants to get elected, and he realizes that there's this anti-Trump hysteria in the country, and that there may be this blue wave come November, so he wants to capitalize on that for his own personal gain. But understand what this is. This is political opportunism, and that's that. That's it. Former ethics Bush lawyer is now going to scold Trump and everyone else in the country about what the Republican Party should stand for. You're late to the party, bud, and I just hope that the Democratic Party sees through it, but, you know, part of me is worried that they're going to welcome him with open arms and maybe even rig the primary against his opponent, knowing them, because they love centrists. So, we'll see how this goes, but this is an individual who is not an honest actor and really should be an outcast politically. Nobody should care what he has to say. Anyone from Bush's administration should be permanently discredited. But unfortunately, we love Bush again. We're all welcoming Bush back because Donald Trump is so much worse. Well, you could think that, and this is what happens when you try to rehabilitate war criminals like George W. Bush. Their cronies come out of hiding and think they have a chance in politics again when they shouldn't ever enter politics ever again.
Support this podcast by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Humanist Report.